Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a hell of a show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to hit all notifications to be notified the second we publish our content so you don't miss out on anything. Let me get into this topic here. Now, as you guys know, about a year ago, JJ Redick made a lot of headlines for all the wrong reasons. Why? Because he went on on ESPN First Take. And he got into this back and forth with Chris Mad Dog Russo, who has always made it clear that he's an old school guy. He's a sports historian. He was basically calling out players from the era of Bob Cousy and all of that, playing against firemen and plumbers, calling them all of this stuff. And it was something that irritated some of the legends of the NBA. And you have players like Jerry West, Bob Cousy, Dominique Wilkins, and others, Michael Cooper and others, coming out and basically calling JJ Redick a bozo for the comments that he made, right? So what happened? Excuse me. So what happened? So yesterday, JJ Redick made an appearance on the podcast called Flagrant. Very popular podcast, and it has 1.57 million subscribers. Now, when the podcast initially came out, I actually didn't watch it, but one of our viewers sent this clip to me. He was like, "Hey, tune into this podcast, go to the 40-minute mark, and check out what JJ Redick had to say." So yesterday, I decided to do that, and during that segment, they were talking about this whole "we're done with the '90s" thing, and they were asking JJ Redick to clarify the comments that he made about players in the past, them being plumbers in the 90s and all of that. And would you believe JJ Redick essentially doubled down on his nonsense that he essentially spewed on ESPN First Take, and those comments, which were the comments that ended up getting him in trouble with some of the legends in NBA history. But before we even get into what JJ Redick had to say, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select two or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting two entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And once again, once you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is play the conversation that they had on the podcast, Flagrant, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to this conversation here.
It's going to go.
Have you seen
what
we done with the 90s?
Joe, it's I hate this. Who's paying for this? This is your podcast co-host. There's a media smear campaign out there for Michael Jordan, and there's all these people that are like taking these clips and saying how trash basketball was in the 90s, as if we didn't watch it.
Yeah.
You thought it was trash?
No.
So MJ does whatever he wants now.
And they tried to say MJ doesn't have a left hand, and then they broke it down, and it's like he goes to the left just as much as he goes to the right now. Like,
this is a smear campaign.
This is a smear campaign.
I don't love
this.
Is I because of some things that have happened on First Take and The Old Man and the Three, which is my other podcast, because of some things that I've said, I have this reputation as like destroying the older generation, and it's like,
what did you call them? Janitors?
Plumbers and firemen.
There we go.
But here's everything I've ever said is
you've been smeared.
In fact.
What are the facts here? That Michael Jordan's a fireman?
No, I was talking specifically about the players that Bob Cousy played against in the 1950s.
Okay, this is different.
In the 1950s, nearly every professional athlete in every sport
was white.
Had
what?
Don't get me started on the quota.
Wait. Talk to us about the Utah Jazz. Go.
No, don't get me started on this. But every professional athlete, not every but most professional athletes had a summer job. They didn't train year round like we did. They literally were plumbers and firemen and welders and farmers.
Oh, I don't know.
So it was a matter of fact that he was
but you
playing
also say
against-
that I think the implication is they're less athletic, they're less good.
Well, they were
Cousy
less
also,
good. Let's be
but
in the
that's-
1950s.
But that's just a matter of what they got paid, and they had to be. They weren't like, hey, I
100%.
want to be a plumber and I'll play basketball on the side. You know what I mean? Like they're very good basketball players who had to
100%.
make ends meet, as was Bob Cousy.
I can absolutely. I've been so consistent on this,
Yeah.
and yet people are like, you trash prior generations. I've been consistent on this.
But Bob
the first
Cousy-
time I ever commented on any of this was right after the top 75 list came out.
Yeah, and you were pissed that Dwight Howard wasn't on it.
And all I said was, we should absolutely celebrate the greatest players in every era, what they accomplished, who they were as players. We should celebrate that. But you can't tell me that, Dolph Schayes was a better basketball player than Tracy McGrady or Kyrie Irving or Klay Thompson or Dwight Howard. It's not based in any sort of fact. Now, relative to the competition, you can make an argument, right? Relative to the competition, which is what I've been consistent on. Celebrate what players were able to do in their era. So I get knocked for, I trashed Larry Bird. Dominique Wilkins has been on like 19 different podcasts talking about how stupid I am for saying that Larry Bird is a top 10 player of all time and one of the greatest shooters ever. But objectively, he's not a top 5 3-point shooter. He's just not.
Well, wasn't there?
And the argument against that is, well, if he had played in today's era, he would be a top 5. What? That doesn't even make sense. That's not based in reality or fact.
Wait a minute, but was there a 3-point line early in his career?
3-point line was 1979, 1980. I believe was the first year of the 3-point line.
And
Chris Ford made the first 3-pointer ever.
But when does he come in the league? Bird.
He was the class of 79, wasn't he?
Okay, so he's in it. So the game is a little different. But you're saying the data doesn't show that he's a top 3-point shooter.
Yeah, he shot like 3 a game or something.
Yeah, I mean, 37% for his career.
a different
Draymond
game.
Green just passed him in the all-time
In total
list.
3-point. Yeah.
I believe Richard Jefferson is right above him too. I'm gonna say Richard Jefferson's one of the best.
So what was Larry Bird good at?
But I think that's
Larry Bird was one of the greatest players ever.
Yeah.
He was a great shooter. First of all, he was a great shooter.
Yeah.
Incredible passer.
Yeah.
insane passer.
He's also, to me, like when I watch, because I watch full games, and then I watch the highlight montages that we all watch. I love watching full games on YouTube. It's one of the greatest gifts ever of YouTube.
Yeah.
But he's another guy who like defied a definition.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
He defied a definition.
Yeah.
Jordan defied a definition.
Yeah.
He defied a definition. They're transcendent players.
Yeah.
Transcendent. That's how I look at him.
But not a good 3-point shooter.
No, he was a
Good
good
shooter?
He was a good 3-point shooter.
But one of the best shooters ever?
But Mad Dog that day said to me, but Larry Bird won a 3-point contest. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
So you heard what JJ Redick had to say. First of all, it's important that I say this. JJ Redick was capping over there. He was just capping. JJ actually said some other things. Amongst those things was when he said that the 90s was not more physical than the present day NBA. That was one of the comments he made that had Dominique Wilkins call him out and essentially say, you're an idiot. He was suggesting that the 90s, or really today, is just as physical as it was in the 90s. That's what JJ Redick said. And he was talking about the freedom of movement, and he brought up highlight tapes of Larry Bird coming off a pin down, talking about the spacing that he had there. He's like, you know what, you're going to tell me that it would. That's what he was saying. And a lot of NBA legends came out to basically tell him, bro, you need to chill out. You embarrassing yourself right now. Those were one of the things that he said. Now, one of the things that people like myself who don't play basketball, who didn't play basketball, hear whenever they're talking, sports or speaking to people like Gilbert Arenas and others, they always tell you, listen, there's no way you understand this thing at the level that we do. So therefore, whatever you say is wrong, or inversely, whatever we say is right whenever you and I are having a conversation, because I played in the NBA and you didn't. But here's the problem. In the case of what JJ Redick said, JJ Redick played in the NBA. I didn't play in the NBA, but I vehemently disagreed with him for the same reasons that all of those other NBA legends disagree with him. So how do you reconcile that event just now? How do we reconcile what just took place, what I just explained to you? I didn't play in the NBA. Dominique Wilkins, Jerry West, Bob Cousy, and all of these guys, they played in the NBA, and I was able to come to the same conclusion that they did. So how did I do that if I didn't play in the NBA? What did I use to be able to figure that out? I used my brain and I used my eyes. But what we keep hearing is that whatever an NBA player says is correct. But here's the problem. We always get NBA players constantly disagreeing with one another. So who's right and who's wrong? Or is it that you're always right when you're speaking to somebody that didn't play in the NBA? Well, that would be patently absurd. But that's what these guys are saying. That's what these guys are saying. He said that, and according to the people that are propagating and promoting that viewpoint, then JJ should be right. But as it turns out, they're legends that were actually better than him that are saying, no, he's wrong. He is wrong. Now, back to the plumber's comment. When JJ Redick brought up the thing of them being plumbers and all of that, let's cut the BS. What he essentially was saying was, those guys were not as good as players today. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. That's why he threw that out. He wasn't throwing out their job occupation just to inform the audience that these guys were plumbers and firemen. No, he was saying that these guys were basically nobodies. Now, here's a problem. If JJ Redick is correct about what he's saying, that in fact that those players were playing an inferior brand of basketball compared to players today, then help me understand, why was it that when Kobe Bryant was growing up, one of the people he learned a lot about in terms of scoring and play style and all of that was from Jerry West? How do we explain that? How do we explain that? Now, some people say, well, Jerry West is an isolated player. Great players would be good in any era. Okay, fantastic. So why can't we say the same today? That there's some great players today and then the rest of these guys aren't really that good. Well, no, we can't say that because then you'd be using my argument against me. That can't work. Kobe learned a lot about basketball from what's his name, from Jerry West. Have you ever heard of a guy called Alex English before? These guys weren't any good. Like, are you kidding me? So JJ, man, I think this is a fight that for whatever reason, I think he stepped in it, but he doubled down. I don't know why, because I couldn't see. I don't know the people that would agree with JJ, right? Because all the legends, all the top 75 guys disagree with him. All of the top 75 guys disagree with him. All of them. That's the Jerry West, the Dominiques, the Bob. They all disagree with him. He's by himself. It's just basically role players and 1 or 2 time All-Stars that agree with him. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show. Peace.